Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Stocks rise across the world after core inflation in the US slows to a two-year low. The Sensex up over 700 points. The Nifty gains over 200. All sectoral indices end in the green. A 95% surge in gold imports takes India's trade deficit in October to a record high of more than $31 billion. Overall imports rise 11%, hitting a 15-month high. Exports up 6%.
Baseless allegations will continue, mudslinging will continue, but we're going ahead and doing our job.
Allegations and counter-allegations fly thick and fast as a bitter takeover battle breaks out between the Burman family and the Religare management. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Mohit Burman rules out hiking the open offer price and terms the allegations made by Religare's directors as baseless and malicious. US President Joe Biden and China's Xi Jinping will meet face-to-face for the first time in a year. China's president is in the US for the first time in 6 years. Financial Times reports the US is likely to halt plans for the Indo-Pacific trade deal, which was aimed at countering China's economic influence in the region. Israel forces raid Gaza's biggest hospital, claim it is precise and targeted operation against Hamas. Reports say that Israel has allowed fuel shipments inside Gaza for humanitarian purposes. The global parent company of Siemens India is set to buy 18% stake in the company for over $2 billion. Another Siemens subsidiary is the seller in what is an inter-promoter transfer. The move is likely to set the stage for a demerger of the India energy business. A fatal bus accident in Jammu's Doda district kills at least 39 people. Rescue operations continue. Those with severe injuries are being flown to nearby hospitals. Prime Minister Modi announces 2 lakh rupees for the kin of those killed. 40 construction workers remain trapped after an under-construction tunnel in Uttarakhand since it collapsed 3 days ago. The plan to drill through the debris has failed. Authorities are assessing the next course of action. Meanwhile, tunnel workers and local protests allege lack of effort in the rescue operations. Sahara Group chief Subrata Roy dies at 75 after a prolonged illness. His business empire once spanned real estate, financial services, aviation and cricket. Roy suffered a reversal of fortunes after a prolonged legal battle with SEBI, in which he was also jailed for contempt of court. Last day of campaigning in Madhya Pradesh, all 230 assembly seats go to the polls this Friday in what is likely to be a two-way contest between the BJP and the Congress. Well, straight to the day's trading action. Global markets surging on the back of US inflation data, which shows signs of relief. This after core inflation in the US slowed to a two-year low. The Wall Street rose in line with global markets. That's the Nifty for you, up 230 points. The Sensex gaining 700 points today. The Nifty Bank adding 300, and the small cap index also up by about 180 points. So all in all, a good day for our markets. Prashant is standing by now to take us through the market action. Prashant, cheer overnight from the US.
Well, we came in this morning with the knowledge that it's going to be a big one, a big day, and it did not disappoint. The handoff from Wall Street was super positive. The Nasdaq, the S&P, the big fall in yields, and actually more importantly, the Russell 2000, which is the small cap index in the US, that rallied 5.5%, right? That's basically the most representative of a wide range of US companies. 5.5% move, so it was going to be a good day. We got a massive gap up, and the great part is that we actually ended slightly higher than where we started. Usually you want a lower start and then maybe, the dip gets bought, but it was not that. A strong start which became stronger by the end of close. The Nifty is up on your screen. The Bank Nifty sort of coming up to important levels, mid caps and small caps, and small cap index once again, the strongest out of the 4 indices as we've been highlighting over and over again. Now, just to tell you which stocks on the Nifty did well. So, Eicher, Hindalco, Tata Motors looking very strong. The tech pack, right? Tech Mahindra, Infosys, LTI, Mindtree, Wipro, TCS, all rallying and contributing handsomely to what the Nifty did. Broader markets, long list of strong gainers with volumes. And, Angel One, Manappuram, Phoenix Limited, Chennai Petro, Welspun India, Oberoi Realty, Emphasis, Motilal Oswal Financial Services, Tube Investment, Nesco, Ahluwalia Contractors, Dodla Dairy, BKG, Hindware, Kalamandir, which is recently listed, EMS, Quick Heal, PG Electroplast. I can go on, but I think this gives you a sense of how broad-based the move was. There were some pullbacks as well. NMDC, Natco, Supreme Industries and Credit Access. Religare also sold off. Of course, we had an interview with Mr. Burman on the Religare issue. What next? I think we got to watch whether the rally in the US continues. Can yields drop off another 20-25 basis points? Can the broader market in the US, especially the Russell 2000, continue to build on the gains that we saw? I think that will give us further cues. But, you know, here on the Nifty, we are very, very close to previous all-time highs. And at least we have a line of sight to those levels once again. Back to you.
All right, Prashant, many thanks for joining us. And staying with the market index provider, MSCI has added 9 Indian stocks to its emerging market index in its November review. The changes will come into effect from market close on the last day of the month. As per Nuvama alternative calculations, India should receive passive inflows of close to 1.5 billion post the rejig that's been announced by MSCI. Now, a 95% surge in gold imports has taken India's trade deficit in October to a record high of more than $31 billion. And that figure came in higher by 18% versus the same period last year. Overall, imports rose 11%, hitting a 15-month high. Exports up 6%. Lata's here with the details. Lata, what do you make of the trade data?
Well, the trade deficit quite clearly is worrisome. It's the highest ever monthly trade deficit of 31.46 billion. I'm only counting goods over here, not services. This trade deficit is up about 20% over last year and 62% over September. So let's be under no illusion as to the big, as to the volume of trade deficit that we have at this point in time. The trade deficit is $12 billion more than it was in September, and only $3 billion each can be accounted for by gold and oil. So this problem is beyond that. It's beyond just high oil or high gold imports. The imports are higher clearly due to a strong growth in India across the board. So several things like machinery and chemicals and ores are responsible for the higher imports. It would be okay if our exports also grew commensurate, but they are not. At $33 billion, they're $1 billion less than it was in September. So clearly destination countries are not as strong as we are. We have always been compensated, at least in the last 3 years, by services exports. You know, all these GCCs and the software companies. But services exports at $28.7 billion in October is $1 billion less than it was in September. So slowdown is hitting the services exports. And that's why the rupee, as soon as the numbers got announced, saw a distinct fall. It was strengthening in the morning because of the weakness in the dollar index and the fall in US yields. But that stopped and the rupee weakened after these numbers came. We have to worry a little about these numbers. You know, if you add the services surplus, then you get a net deficit of $17 billion per month. We have used up $17 billion more. Of course, in July and August last year, we used up $20 billion. But those were times when crude was at $110. Now crude is at best $90 billion. In spite of it, if we are reporting such a large deficit, we should worry. If this is a one-off, fine. But if you're going to do, you know, a $30 billion trade deficit and a $17 billion overall deficit month after month at a time when FIIs are selling out of Indian equities, there is a near-term problem in terms of filling that deficit.
Well, that's the big story there, the trade deficit at a record high. Many thanks, Lata, for joining us. The big newsmaker this evening, allegations, counter-allegations flying thick and fast as a bitter battle breaks out between the Burman family and the Religare management. This after Religare's directors accused the Burman family of corruption, the family hitting back. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Mohit Burman denied allegations, calling them baseless and malicious. On acquiring stake in Religare, Burman clarified that they are focused on their open offer and unwilling to increase the price at this point. He also added that if any other suitor is willing to make a higher offer for Religare, the Burmans may consider selling out. Burman also remains upbeat about getting all the regulatory approvals. He expects the competition watchdog's green light in a few weeks.
We're focusing on our open offer. We believe that everything is above board, and sooner than later all the regulators will give us the nod to proceed and close the acquisition.
Let's just talk about that open offer price. How significant do you think that is in this entire scheme of things, or you think it's gone beyond that? It's not about the price anymore. I mean, if tomorrow you were to raise the price, do you think things can be brought back on track?
No, as I said, I always believe amicable solution can be worked out, and I don't believe it's the price, because we're well above the SEBI price formula. So I don't think it's well with the price. If there's someone else who's willing to give a higher price, then let them also make let them come in the fray. I don't mind. It's not something which we believe we've offered a fair price for the business, and let the shareholders decide.
Are you willing to go up?
But at this point of time, no, I'm not. At that time, she accepted she accepted our offer and said that she will help us in getting all the permissions, as well as helping us navigate getting into the business and making us understand the business. As soon as we voted her back in, now she's using all that against us.
But to be clear, did you want her to continue, or did you want, when the open offer bit happened, did you want her to continue as the helm of affairs, or what was the offer given to her? What was the discussion?
No, as far as we're concerned, listen, we don't want to upset the management as well as the board. We are professional. All our businesses are run professionally. Family members only take seats on the board. And even in this case, all our discussions were centered around the fact that at the most, we may supplement the board with some more people, who can add value to the business, and as well as provide capital to each of the businesses to take it to the next level. There was no question about us replacing anyone.
And you can catch the entire conversation with Mohit Burman at 5:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Well, several big global stories. In an escalation of its offensive in Gaza, Israeli troops have entered the Al-Shifa hospital early today, conducting what they call a precise and targeted operation against Hamas militants in a specified area of the medical complex. Israel claims it has intelligence information indicating that terrorist activity by Hamas was taking place inside the Al-Shifa hospital. Both Hamas and Gaza health authorities have denied the claims that the group is operating from the hospital. The military operation is likely to cause more casualties, where several patients and civilians are trapped with no food and electricity. UN trucks carrying fuel expected to enter Gaza for the first time since the war began. The UN agency has warned its aid operation would cease soon if fuel was not allowed into the enclave. China's President Xi Jinping has arrived in the U.S. to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Jinping is set to meet U.S. President Joe Biden for the first time in over a year on the sidelines of the summit. The two leaders are expected to discuss a host of issues, including the Israel-Hamas conflict, artificial intelligence, and fair trade. German energy giant Siemens is planning to purchase Siemens Energy's 18% stake in its India unit for over $2 billion. Post the transaction, Siemens Energy's stake in Siemens India will reduce to 6%. Siemens AG and Siemens Energy have plans to demerge their India energy business by 2025.
First of all, keep in mind this India setup was driven when we did the spin-off by administrative restrictions. So we knew that at one point in time we need to untangle the Siemens AG and Siemens Energy business in India. For both of us, India is a super important market and we want to be very prominent present there. This separation of the two businesses, so Siemens AG and Siemens Energy, it prepones certain things and really starts this process over. It will still be a multi-year process of completely untangling it.
Well, we will head into a break, but up next, last day of campaigning in Madhya Pradesh. The state goes to the polls this Friday. Better job opportunities, infrastructure and women's safety, key priorities for young voters. A special report coming up. And a story that we continue to track. 40 workers remain trapped after an under-construction tunnel on a national highway collapsed in Uttarakhand on Sunday. The plan to drill through the debris has failed and authorities are assessing the next course of action. Archana Solanki joins us now with more. Archana, it is a race against time for those 40 workers that find themselves trapped under the debris. What is the way forward?
Thank you, Shireen. It's been more than 72 hours, almost 3 days, over 3 days, and 40 labourers remain trapped in the Religare tunnel in Uttarakhand. Now, officials have confirmed that they're all safe, but the rescue operation, which was expected to conclude today, has been delayed. Since 3 a.m. this morning, the rescue operation has been put on hold as a more powerful drilling machine is being brought in from Delhi. It's arriving in parts and will be assembled most likely by this evening. First part of that machine is in Uttarakhand at that spot. However, Shireen, there's no clarity on whether the operation will resume this evening or tomorrow morning. The situation is the same as it was 72 hours ago when the portion of that tunnel collapsed. Now, so what will the new machine do? In simple words, the new drilling machine that's been brought in from Delhi will assist the NDRF, SDRF and the police teams in creating mini tunnels or create an escape passage to bring the labourers out from the tunnel. For now, food, oxygen and water are being provided through a water pipe, which is also the only means of communication with those workers. It's their lifeline. Now, early this morning, some workers and their family members staged protests questioning the delay in rescuing the trapped workers. It all began last Sunday when a portion of the tunnel, Religare tunnel, which is part of the Char Dham project, collapsed, trapping all 40 labourers inside. Now, this incident has once again put the spotlight on the concerns surrounding the Char Dham project. Remember, environmental experts have consistently raised alarms about the project's location in the ecologically sensitive region of Uttarakhand, known for frequent landslides and floods. The project involves extensive tree cutting and mountain cutting to widen roads. Now, some experts have also called it a freeway to disaster. The Char Dham project is Modi government's ambitious highway project, which aims to connect the 4 pilgrim sites, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Yamunotri and Gangotri in Uttarakhand. It plans to construct 889 kilometers of roads in the Himalayan region. All eyes are on the rescue operation, Shireen, and it is indeed a race against time.
Archana, many thanks for joining us. We will be tracking this story closely. More bad news. At least 39 people have been killed in a bus accident in Jammu's Doda district. Rescue operations continue. Those with severe injuries are being flown to nearby hospitals. Prime Minister Modi has announced an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees for the kin of those killed. Now, Madhya Pradesh is set to go to the polls on the 17th of November in what is likely to be a two-way battle between the BJP and the Congress. This time, there are over 22 lakh first-time voters in the state, with around 39 lakh registered unemployed youth. The need for better job opportunities remains one of the key issues. Sante Gora travelled to Madhya Pradesh to get a sense of what the youth want.
While first-time voters comprise only 4% of the overall eligible voters in Madhya Pradesh, they could still be a crucial swing factor in the state. What is on the minds of these young voters? Jobs and employment opportunities.
Employment is the one and the most important criteria for me.
मेरे हिसाब से businesses के लिए भी चीजें करनी चाहिए. थोड़ा ease of environment बनाना चाहिए जहाँ पे entrepreneurship promote करी जाए.
I guess they are just mere promises. They have reserved some seats in public buses, but it's not maintained properly.
Keeping these sentiments of young people in mind, the incumbent BJP has promised better employment opportunities.
इस बार जो हमने तय किया है, अगले 5 साल में प्रत्येक परिवार एक रोजगार.
The Shivraj Singh Chauhan government claims it has done a lot to create employment opportunities in the state. But the data does not support these claims. On 1st of January 2023, the number of registered unemployed people in Madhya Pradesh was around 39 lakh. In fact, Congress believes that unemployment under BJP regime will be Congress's key to power. 3 key points on which you think Congress will be able to make a comeback.
Unemployment, inflation and anti-incumbency.
Other than employment opportunities, women's safety, infrastructural development, corruption-free governance are the other priorities of these young voters of Madhya Pradesh. In the 2018 Madhya Pradesh elections, Congress won only 5 seats more than BJP did. BJP's vote share was barely 0.13% more than that of Congress. Experts say if one assumes this neck-and-neck situation persists, first-time voters who make around 4% of the state's overall voters could play a crucial role in tipping the scales. With BJP's poor performance when it comes to filling government vacancies, many consider BJP to be on the back foot, and Congress certainly wants to use this to its advantage to sway young voters. In Bhopal, with camera person Swapnil Bandekar, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
Now, the White House's former COVID response coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha, says the involvement of private equity in healthcare could indicate that the system is not functioning optimally. Speaking to me earlier today, Jha said that private equity firms have historically left healthcare systems with a lot of debt, also adding that the global health community is not taking climate change seriously enough. Take a look.
We've got to get people insured and covered. That's not enough. And then when you see private equity, your second part of your question, to me, that is a symptom. It says you have a health system that is not functioning in a way that is really optimal, and that private equity can go in. Now, sometimes we have seen examples of private equity firms go in and actually clean up a mess, make a health system better. That happens. Unfortunately, those are rare. A lot of times what we have seen is private equity firms go in, really take all the value out of that health system, leave it with large amounts of debt, and leave patients really much worse off in those communities. Climate change probably represents the single biggest health threat facing humanity in the years and decades to come. It will change every aspect of health. I don't think that the global health community, and I don't think the global community is taking climate change seriously enough as a health threat. Of course, we're talking about climate change in terms of temperatures and sea levels and all of those. They are important. For me, climate change is going to be seen and felt by most people through health. That's why I often say health is the human face of climate change.
Well, you can catch that entire show at 7 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues on the other side.